Hello, and welcome to Gus McDoll Strategy and Tactics, and thank you to our subscribers. I'm Nick McDoll. Today we're continuing the Allied Grand Campaign in Close Combat A Bridge Too Far, a game based on the Battle of Arnhem, Operation Marketgarden. In this series we use the missions in the Allied Grand Campaign to illustrate one or more aspects of World War II infantry tactics at the company level and below. Each episode we conduct basic mission analysis, develop and analyse possible courses of action, then decide and execute the plan in real time, followed by lessons learned. Please remember to like the video and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content, and the links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. In this episode we're in the Arnhem sector, the Arnhem Bridge area of operations. Our objective is to defend the Arnhem Bridge. It is day 4 of Operation Marketgarden, 0600 hours on 20 September 1944. Arnhem Bridge. The Brass Ring. The Arnhem Highway Bridge spans the lower Rhine River and is the gateway to the German industrial Ruhr Valley. Completed by the Dutch in 1934, destroyed by the Dutch in 1940, captured by the Germans in 1940, and rebuilt by the Germans in 1944, liberating the Arnhem Highway Bridge is your responsibility. Secure the approaches to the bridge and then the bridge itself. Partisans report the presence of panzer units in the area, but RAF reconnaissance says no. Suffer as few casualties as possible. You must hold out until your 1st Airborne lads reinforce you or 30 Corps relieves you. German forces have closed in behind you. If you are forced off this map, your troops will be dead or captured. There is no path of retreat. Let's examine our forces. I only suffered 1 KIA in our battle here yesterday, so I start with the same forces. I can choose reinforcements, but I will leave these as a contingency in case I need them later. Airborne Bren teams are the core of the British Army. They use a light machine gun, bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. Use them on the front lines, but they should run or hide from tanks. Airborne rifle teams use bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. The team leader is armed with a submachine gun. Use rifle teams on the front lines and to hold victory locations. They are useless against tanks. Airborne Piat teams consist of an anti-tank bomb projector, a bolt-action rifle and hand grenades. Not as effective as the Panzerschreck, the Piat's effective range is 8 to 80 metres. Airborne ad hoc rifle teams are low-quality replacement teams. They use single-shot rifles and hand grenades. The team leader is armed with a submachine gun. Use them to free up quality teams for other duties. Airborne 6-pounder light anti-tank gun teams also contain rifles and grenades. Best used as an anti-tank weapon, this gun is also effective against infantry targets. Its high rate of fire makes up for its low armour penetration. Airborne 3-inch medium mortar teams also contain bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. Because mortars can shoot over obstacles, position these teams behind buildings or trees. Use them to suppress enemy infantry and lay smoke screens. Airborne Vickers medium machine gun teams also include bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. Position these teams in multi-storey buildings or locations with long lines of sight so they can suppress enemy infantry. Next, let's look at the map and do some mission analysis. I will develop a plan and then execute it in the game. Our mission is to defend Arnhem Bridge in order to allow 30 Corps to cross the Rhine. We have a parachute infantry company from the British 1st Airborne Division consisting of 2 Bren sections, 2 rifle sections, 2 Piat teams, and 3 half sections with 2 6-pounder anti-tank guns, 2 3-inch mortar detachments, and 2 Vickers machine guns in support. North is towards the bottom of the map. I have marked 4 areas of interest. Number 1, the block of buildings either side of the Arnhem Highway Bridge, the famous bridge across the Rhine. Number 2, the block of government buildings with a 3-storey public works building to the east overlooking the approach to the bridge. Number 3, the raised embankment, bridge abutment and bridge access overlooked by multi-storey buildings on 3 sides, any of which can control access to the bridge. And number 4, the power station and dairy to the east that provide a covered and concealed avenue of approach to the bridge. This is an aerial photograph of the same location as it appears now. This area was largely destroyed during the fighting and much has changed since the war. The bridge itself was rebuilt and named the John Frostbrug, but the broad outlines and key locations are all still clearly recognisable. I assess the enemy will again attempt to clear the British from this area and recapture the bridge in order to prevent 30 Corps from crossing the Rhine. I anticipate they will once again bring a mixed force of tanks and infantry. Given that 30 Corps are at Nijmegen, I expect the Germans to throw strong units into the attack. The enemy's most likely course of action is to attack from the northeast, or bottom left, with infantry and tanks. They would place forces in the 3-storey buildings overlooking the bridge access objective. Then they would use their tanks and machine guns to develop fire superiority and win the firefight. Finally, they would cross the open ground, possibly under cover of smoke, and gradually push back British forces from the bridge. The enemy's most dangerous course of action is to use their tanks to cover an infantry assault from the dairy and power station to the east, the left of the map. This would enable the enemy to get into the buildings around the bridge quickly and avoid the open ground around the bridge access objective. From there, the infantry would conduct an urban clearance of each of the buildings and use direct fire from the tanks to reduce any British strongpoints. I control the area, and the enemy are counter-attacking, so I am on the defensive. I will use essentially the same defensive plan as our last encounter in this area back in episode 27. The enemy's most dangerous asset is armour, so I will use the open ground around the bridge access objective as the primary engagement area for an anti-armour ambush by 1st Platoon and the assets in the support echelon. 1st Platoon will set up an L-shaped ambush and take up position in the buildings overlooking this area, with a Bren section, rifle section and ad hoc rifle section. The Piat team will remain concealed behind the Public Works building, just in case. The anti-tank guns are sighted at right angles. If a tank faces one gun, it exposes its flank to the other. Both guns are deployed in buildings for overhead protection. Both medium machine guns are sighted to fire into this area against troops in the open. I need to protect my right flank against an assault from the dairy and power station. 2nd Platoon will cover this flank with a Bren section in the 3-story building on the corner, a rifle section and 2 ad hoc rifle sections lying in ambush, and a Piat team in reserve in case any tanks move into this area. 2nd Platoon will also form a strong mobile force for counterattack if the opportunity arises. Finally, the mortars will remain in defilade behind the State Archive and Provincial Government Office buildings and engage on-call targets. The commander of any defensive operation must therefore be expert at choosing the ground that controls the area for which he is responsible. He must plan to hold that ground at all costs, but he must also be able to counterattack with a strong mobile force against any enemy who may penetrate into his position. I have now moved my troops into position and will execute the plan in real time. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the various courses of action and if you have identified a viable alternative. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content. And so we begin. Infantry in the open. A mortar. 2 tanks, a Panther, and a Königstiger, or King Tiger. Wow, this is the strongest tank in the German arsenal. Mulder's gun targets the Panther. Keltner's mortar targets infantry in the open. Jacob's mortar delivers counter-battery fire against the enemy mortar. Dugan's 6-pounder also targets the Panther with a flanking shot. Hit! The Panther is destroyed by Lance Bombardier Mulder's gun. The Vickers targets the Aufklärer in the open, but then switches targets to the more dangerous MG42. The Königstiger is on the move and presenting its flank to Mulder's 6-pounder. Oh my god, hit and destroyed! Unbelievable! Minutes into battle. The Germans should just surrender and go home. Now there is nothing to stop my infantry. The 2nd Vickers targets the Granatwerfer. 1st Platoon targets the infantry to their front. Second Platoon detects another Granatwerfer tucked between buildings. A Sturmgrenadier squad has made it across the bridge. The Vickers and 1st Platoon target it. An Aufklärer squad is eliminated. The Sturmgrenadier squad is also eliminated. An MG42 in the 3-story building becomes the next target for concentrated fire.
Heavy fire. We're pinned down. Eliminated.
Another Aufklärer squad is eliminated. Second Platoon's Bren squad under Corporal Tedder deals with the German attack. It is a Schützen squad. Both Vickers switch targets to the Granatwerfer in the open. One of the Vickers takes a casualty. Both mortars switch to counter-battery fire against the other Granatwerfer between the buildings.
We're pinned down.
The enemy attack across the bridge ramp has stalled. The Granatwerfer in the open is eliminated. The third Aufklärer squad is eliminated. Fire switches back to the MG42 in the 3-story building. Mulder's 6-pounder takes a casualty from a mortar round. The Germans still have the second Granatwerfer. Also a Schützen squad in the buildings on the far left of the map. The casualty on Mulder's gun turns out to be Gunner Maddig, shortly after dispatching 2 enemy heavy tanks, cut down in his moment of triumph. The remaining German forces are pinned by relentless crossfire, but they are not retreating.
We're under heavy fire. Conserve ammunition.
And we are starting to run low on ammunition. If I accept a ceasefire, it only means we fight again here today. I need to do something different. But I also need to exercise tactical patience, as I've found to my cost in the Arnhem West area.
Pick up your weapon. Das Blut!
Move completed.
Time for 2nd Platoon to conduct a counterattack. But this time in force, not in dribs and drabs. With no sign of the enemy to their front, all 3 rifle teams in 2nd Platoon move forward together.
Pick up your
Area
weapon.
secured.
Corporal Davidson's team captures the power station objective. They swing north to the dairy. As does Evans. An enemy reserve squad is also in the buildings to the left. Suddenly, firing from the dairy. A 2-person Panzerschreck team. Evans targets them. As does Von Sant's Bren team,
Conserve ammunition.
which has almost run out of ammunition. And Warner's squad.
Pick up your weapon.
And Corporal Davidson. All of 2nd Platoon, basically. Grenades out. A British casualty. Another grenade takes another British casualty. 1st Platoon has gone to ground.
You're mad. Move completed. We're under heavy fire. You're mad.
The battle ended because the Germans were routed from the map. The Allies gained control of the area, but the Germans are expected to launch a counterattack later. The German forces took excessive losses. I made Allied progress of 110 against expected progress of 70 by the end of the day. I suffered 5 KIA. The enemy suffered 36 KIA and lost a Panther tank and a Königstiger or King Tiger tank. A military cross and a distinguished conduct medal were awarded. We will not see the Germans here again today. Let's examine casualties on both sides. First, the British from the 1st Airborne Division. Relatively light casualties. Gunner Maddig accounted for a Panther tank and a Königstiger and is posthumously awarded the Military Cross. Gunner Baumann helped him and is awarded a Distinguished Conduct Medal. Once again, the Vickers account for most enemy casualties. Then the Germans from the 9th Panzer Division. Surely it is running out of infantry companies by now. A Sturmgrenadier squad, 2 MG42, 2 Schützen squads, 3 Aufklärer squads, a reserve squad, a Königstiger, a Panther, 2 Granatwerfer, and 2 Panzerschreck squads. So, what did we learn? First, the early destruction of both heavy tanks owed something to good sighting and something to good luck. Both are important, and together they decided the outcome of the battle from the start. Second, the L-shaped sighting of the anti-tank guns and Vickers machine guns once again created a compelling and deadly crossfire into the engagement area. The Germans were unable to assault out of the engagement area and were cut to pieces. As Doctrine says, choose the ground that controls the area and hold that ground at all costs. Third, Doctrine recommends a defending commander must counterattack with a strong mobile force against any enemy who may penetrate into the defensive position. At Arnhem West, the counterattack was fragmented in time and in space due to lack of tactical patience, and I took excessive casualties capturing a single building. This time, all 3 rifle squads in 2nd Platoon went in together, supported by the remaining ammunition in the Bren section. They only took 2 casualties, and the counterattack carried the day. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and donate, and stay tuned for the next episode.